Again.
My name is Taryne Shull, and I will be talking to you guys about what makes a good lifeguard. So according to the Red Cross, the first thing about being a good lifeguard is making sure that you're always scanning. So that's looking back and forth in your area for any of those active or passive drowners that I will be talking about later. Also, being professional while you're on the job. So this means making sure you're always wearing your uniform, never twirling your whistle, and always having your tube across you in an upright position. Also, being a good lifeguard means you need to prevent accidents before they happen. So this means if someone is running, that you tell them to stop and why they shouldn't run, and then making sure you are constantly doing that for everyone and keeping it even. So I will now talk about different approaches for swimming when you're saving someone. So you'll have two different kinds of people that you need to rescue. There's active and passive. Active is when the swimmer is actively waving their hands and are struggling to stay above the water. Passive is when the person is either up or down facing in the water and are not struggling, or they're struggling but they're not making any movements. So I will have my brother come up and I will demonstrate some of the different saves. So the first one is front active. So this is when the swimmer is facing you front and they're active. So they're like waving up and down, yelling help. So I will swim to the drowner and I will come up and push the life tube into her chest and tell them to lean forward. So at that point, telling them to relax, stay calm, and then we just kick them to the nearest safest exit. The next is the back passive. So this is when the swimmer their back is to me and they are actively waving. So go ahead, you're struggling, and I come up from behind, put my tube underneath his shoulder blades, and bring his shoulders back like this. And constantly reassuring him that everything's fine, and we go back to the nearest exit. So the next one is the passive forward. So this is when, they could have had a stroke, a heart attack, or something, and they're just out. They can't do anything. So to this, I come up to them, and I grab their arm like this across and pull them up and over my tube, like this. And then you make sure you want to open up their airway. So at this, and then as I'm pulling them back, I am checking to see if they're breathing. So the next one is back passive. So I come up to him, put my tube here over him, and I go like this, and I actually bring him around like this. And then, again, making sure that his airway is open. Thank you, Tate. You can sit down. Okay. So, after that, it is required that you do a primary assessment. So once you get them to the safest exit, if they are passive, you have to get them up on the board and out of the water. So to do the primary assessment, you have to do a tap, shout, tap. You're asking them if they're okay, and then you check their breathing and their heart rate. And then if you have to do CPR, you do that, and you get the AED, and you call the EMS. Once the victim has awakened, you do your secondary assessment. That is when you just get all their past medical records, and you just ask them if they're okay, have them sit, and everything like that. So those are just some of the things that you do as a lifeguard, and I thank you guys for watching me.
Do you show us again?
Oh, yeah.
Good job.